Hello friends and welcome back to my shop. So it's August 9th right now and I have a batch of pens in progress that I'm just finishing, and I decided I want to do more documentation. I used to do a lot more documentation via video on YouTube of kind of what's going on day to day, and I realized those are some of my favorite channels to watch in the evening or whatever. I love watching just people going about what they like to do and just seeing their progress through it. So we're going to shoot more of that kind of video. So what I'm currently working on is all the bodies are machined, all the tips are machined, all the ends are machined, all the pocket clips are machined. I basically have to do the serial engraving and I have to finish the body. So that's what I'm working on right now. Yesterday I finished doing all the rough turning on the outside. They're all two sides. So today we're going to thread the tips, the ends, and ideally I'd like to get to machining all the bolt slots because then we're in a really good position. Then I have almost all the difficult machine done and we can start working on the internals, all the slider pins and stuff. So that's what I'm up to right now. So after I finish threading the ends of the bodies, the next step is to put the little slot in for the bolt, and I realized I'm going to hold off on that because I had ordered some parts. Actually, this is what they ordered. I ordered a bunch of reamers and like a million different types of ID laps to work on the inside of the pen bodies. That is still the most time-consuming part of building pens for me, is getting the inside perfect. Just the way I have to drill it. I have to drill it in PEX, which doesn't leave a lot of ridging, especially with those new carbide drills. It makes a very clean hole, but I still have to drill from both sides, so I get a little mismatch in the center. I mean, a mismatch of a few tenths is still visible, so I always polish those out, but that takes forever. So I'm just trying to find better ways to do it, and I think I found a more interesting way to use a reamer, because reamers in titanium don't play very well. So making pen bodies out of pretty much any other material has no issue. I just drill undersides, and then I take a reamer and I run it through, and that gets you a pretty accurate hole because you can ream all the way through, so any mismatch, even if you did drill from both sides, would be eliminated by reaming. You just leave a little bit of material for the reamer to cut, and then after that you can hone or you can lap the inside, and it's way easier. Titanium just doesn't like to be reamed. It's a weird material where steel and certain materials, when you cut them, a lot of the heat goes into the chip and it goes out of the cut. Titanium doesn't do that. Whereas steel is like 75% of the heat leaves the cut, titanium only like 20% of the heat leaves the cut. The rest of it goes into the work, and worse yet, it goes into the tools. So this reamer is toast. This one I killed a long time ago. But I think I might have found a different way to ream it. Essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pen body into the lathe, but instead of putting it into the spindle of the lathe, I'm going to put it onto the tool carousel, and I'm going to put the reamer into the spindle of the lathe. And now what that'll let me do is it'll let me plumb oil or coolant right through the pen body, from the back side of the pen to the front side. So when the reamer is coming through, oil is always contacting the cutting end of the reamer. And hopefully that'll keep the cut cool, keep the material cool, keep the tool cool, and maybe let me ream titanium without so many issues. It has a tendency to want to grab onto reamers. That's basically the failure point of it. So you get midway through, a 5-inch long body, and then the titanium just squeezes down on the reamer, everything seizes up, and if it's carbide, it just explodes, and if it's high-speed steel, it just kind of locks up. So I'm gonna try something different. Not gonna lie, with this setup in the lathe, I was like 90% sure it probably wasn't going to work. Actually running the first cycle, I had my finger over like the E-stop the entire time. Because I just figured at one point it would just seize up like it always has done in the past, and then either spin the body or bad things would happen. But I was pleasantly surprised when it made it through one entire body without a single issue. And I actually used, I cut a scrap body just in case I exploded it. I didn't want to explode ones that were already threaded and everything. So yeah, you won't be able to see here, but hopefully I'll put some better video. The inside is very smooth, like very, very good quality for lapping now. In the past, I've always used these little barrel laps and whatnot to polish the inside of the pens. But if there's any ridging, you have to lap forever in the ridge section to get rid of it, because titanium just doesn't like to be abraded all that quickly, and these aren't the most efficient method to take away material. They're good for just smoothing things out, but you're not gonna hog off tons of material with these. Anyways, long story short, ran one of these and then ran all the other pens and had no issues. It ran perfect the entire time. The oil system worked great. I ran some G-code so I could just hit cycle start and walk away. Yeah, super, super pleased with how it worked out. And just a high-speed steel tap. I've never had success with a high-speed steel tap in titanium. So I know when I go to carbide now, for the tap, I'll go with the spiral flute carbide. I'll get even better results and way longer tool life. So yeah, super pumped. After drilling and reaming, the next step is barrel lapping. So here I have a brass barrel lap and some grit inside the pen and on the lap, and I just work it back and forth. Use a little wrench to tighten a screw at the end of the lap, and that expands it ever so slightly. And that just lets me work back and forth on the pen body. You can feel kind of where it's tight and where it's loose, and you just focus on the tight areas till you get a really nice consistent diameter. I mean, you're removing tenths with this, so it's pretty easy to get a very, very nice consistent diameter throughout. And then once I've removed the bulk of the material, I switch to a finer grit to get a really nice high polish, and that just makes the bolt action cycle feel really nice. Once that's all finished, we're going to move on to serializing the pocket clips. And in the past, I used to post code for every serial number, which just takes forever because I want to use a custom font. So what I've done now is I've changed all that custom font into macros, and at the start of the code, I have some variables that I can quickly change, and that lets me change the serial number really fast, just right in the code. I don't have to keep posting back and forth, and that has helped out so much. And that takes care of the bulk of the machining. Technically, I still have to cut the sliders that go inside the pen bodies. I have a big selection of them, but now that I'm reaming the inside of the boards, all the boards are bigger. So I have to run some new code on the lathe, but it can pump out a bunch of sliders nice and quickly, so that's not a problem. And then we can work on making these all pretty. I'm polishing the outsides. I'm doing all the various anodizing patterns and whatnot and get them listed on the site. They're also all shipping with these new shipping boxes. I'm trying to move a lot more of my packaging over to cardboard and cardstock. That way it's recyclable. There's still gonna be foam in here just because it's the way to protect the pen, and honestly it's an expensive thing that you're buying. I want to protect it more than I want to have everything recyclable. But I'm moving forward each iteration to more and more recyclable material because I don't know, it just seems like something that's good to do. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next week. I like doing this. This is fun. I really enjoy this. Take care. Bye-bye.